Okay, welcome everybody. So I'd like to start in a nice gentle yin back bend. So you can use your bolster if you have one. I'll give you a couple alternatives as I come to the mat. And with all of these poses, make sure that you're doing what feels right for you. If this particular shape isn't the one that's going to work for you, you can do something else. Um, so if you want something a little gentler, and obviously we're just getting started, you can do a bit more of a restorative version, taking your bolster onto a couple of bricks so that it's on a bit of a ramp, and then you can just lay back over that. A little bit more yin-like is just the bolster flat on the ground, and then you can lay back over that. Some people like a little small cushion underneath the bum, so feel free to add that if you like. If you don't have a bolster, you can use almost anything that's relatively soft, but you could even use one of these bricks just in between your shoulder blades. You could use like a couch cushion or like a throw pillow or something like that. And if you don't have anything, don't worry about it. Just lay back. Some of you might want to have the soles of your feet together and your knees open wide. Then you could put props underneath, like two bricks, just anything similar underneath. If that doesn't feel good, just have your legs long, or some people like knees bent and together. So that's all fine. Just go ahead and find your comfortable place. And this is technically it's a yin pose, but it's a relatively gentle one. It's one that tends to feel pretty good for most of us. So this shouldn't hurt anywhere. It shouldn't really even be uncomfortable. So feel free to adjust if it is. And I've got my arms open nice and wide. I'm kind of enjoying the stretch in my chest here. My shoulders won't always do that. Sometimes it's nice to have the hands down, resting on the hips or down at about 45 degrees. And then once you get there, just start to tap into your breath. Noticing what it feels like to breathe. Softening your body into the earth. And taking a moment to acknowledge the land that you're on and your relationship with that land, this particular place in the world. And you may also be feeling into the moon phase a little bit, which we do follow in this practice. And right now the moon is waxing toward full. We've got a full moon on February 6th. So it's about a week away. So we're kind of in that middle waxing moon phase, which is a time of pretty balanced energy usually. And as the moon is waxing, that energy tends to feel a little bit more on the positive side, a little bit more optimistic. So just checking in with that for yourself. I know it's January and still January, and that has been quite a difficult month for a lot of us. So just sort of checking in with how your individual body and life is sort of matching up with the energies coming from the moon, and just see where it resonates. And if it's nothing, that's okay. Just giving it a moment to feel. And as you're tuning in to your body and this moment in time, maybe you're just offering a little bit of listening to your body. Maybe there's a message that it has for you, something that it wants you to know. And then when you feel ready, we'll start to move. And there are a few different ways to do this, and I'll make some suggestions, but I want to encourage you to practice your intuitive movement. So you could keep your eyes closed and just see how your body would like to move right now if you're sort of slowly waking yourself up. Maybe it starts at the fingers and toes, maybe it's rocking the head. I'm eventually going to place my feet about max distance apart and wash the knees from side to side. And that could be fast or slow as you want to go. And again, this isn't really so much instruction as it is suggestion. So I'd love for you to just kind of explore for yourself what feels good, what feels right in this moment, and just being sort of in that practice of trusting the intuitions of your body, which is a practice, not always simple and clear cut. And then I'm going to roll to my side off the bolster and work my way towards cat and cow. And that could be done in a seat or on hands and knees. We'll eventually come to hands and knees, but maybe you want to be in a seat for a bit. Just moving the spine around. So inhaling into a little back bend shape and exhaling to round. Might be nice to kind of let the shoulders and the neck move around a little bit here, the hips too. You could move side to side, you could make circles. And again, with that kind of intuitive intention, we're not counting necessarily, we're not worrying about how far we're going. We're just exploring the movement and trusting that our body will know what it needs. And generally, when we move from the intuitions of the body as opposed to, what the mind thinks the body should be doing, it tends to be quite safe. It tends to feel pretty good. Often the body does know exactly what's needed. Okay, so I'm just gonna travel towards my hands and my knees now. You can join me when you're ready. And I'm gonna take a few more of those intuitive breaths. And it's helpful to close the eyes because that allows us to turn our focus a little more inward. And we'll take a couple more breaths here before we kind of join in together. And we often transition so smoothly from the yin to the movement that we don't have a chance to put on our playlist. You could do that now if you haven't already and you want some music for the a little bit more dynamic part of the practice. You're welcome to put it on now. Okay, and eventually we're gonna work into some water wheels. So you're on hands and knees. Your hands might be a little bit farther forward than your shoulders. I like to tuck my toes under and sometimes bring my knees a little wider. Hips come to the heels, then I'm gonna gather in my belly, come forward and let my chest come through my arms gently, keeping the core gently engaged. And I'm gonna press back, hips to heels, and just take that a few more times. So I'm kind of rolling forward, opening the chest, And rolling back. And none of this should hurt. It should still have that sort of cat and cow quality. And listening for your breath. I know many of you have your ujjayi breath just kind of as a habit there. But if you don't, think about drawing the breath up and wide through your ribs and exhaling all the way down to your pelvic floor. And you might start to hear that little ocean sound at the back of your throat. And then next time your hips come towards your heels, let's take Anahatasana. So I'm gonna walk my fingertips a little farther forward and my bum stays a bit higher than right onto my hips so that my heart can melt back towards the earth. Chin or forehead could come down, the head could be floating, and I'm just kind of drawing my chest back towards my thighs. Nice deep breaths. Inhale, and as you exhale, come all the way to your belly. If you're not on your belly today, you could return to your hands and your knees, okay? And we'll take strange cobra. So it's that same spider fingers out to the right and to the left. Tops of the feet press down. Take a moment to engage the legs, glutes, gently core, and then inhale and lift your chest up. And as you exhale, gently come down. Inhale, lift the chest. And exhale, soften. Rise up a third time. And this time on the exhale, we'll add a twist. So you could look to the right and then add your left shoulder dipping down towards the earth if that feels safe in the shoulder. Up through center. Look left and you could add the right shoulder. Keep your hips nice and steady on the mat. That's working for you. One more time each side. If it's not, just simply lifting and lowering the chest is perfect. Eventually come up through center, nice long spine. And then release to the belly and make your way all the way back to downward facing dog. If you want to pause on hands and knees or child's pose for a couple of breaths, that's fine. We're not in a rush here. Hands will go maybe a little bit wider than the shoulders, toes tuck, and the hips rise. Keep a little bit of a bend in the elbows and hug them slightly towards each other. A little bit of a bend in the knees, and partly the reason for that is so we can tip the bum up and work the weight towards the legs. And then you can pedal your heels out, so bending one knee at a time. I don't know what I was doing that made my calves tight. Maybe it's my son and I have been dancing to Lizzo. Sometimes we've been having little dance parties. Maybe that's it. He likes it when I jump up and down. And so just pedaling the heels out can feel really nice on the calves and the feet. And then let's travel up to the top of the mat when you're ready, walking the feet to the hands. Bending the knees as much as you need to feel comfortable in your lower back. You can hang down, holding opposite elbows. You can rest the elbows on the bent knees. You can have the fingertips on the floor or on blocks. And again here, you could bend one knee at a time. You could sway, you could be still. And when you're ready, let's roll up to standing. So you can bend your knees a lot, lean back into your heels. Sometimes I like to actually lift my toes up while I'm doing this and slowly stack the bones to standing. Collecting the shoulders onto the back. And we'll begin our sun salutations, which I know many of you know. And we can go with our breath here. So next time you inhale, go ahead and reach your arms up to the sky. And as you exhale, dive forward over your legs. Halfway lift, draw your heart forward. And then step your right foot behind you. You can lower your knee down, you don't have to. Inhale, reaching the arms up to the sky, nice long sides of the waist. And then downward facing dog. As you exhale, connect the palms, step back. Come forward to plank. Feel free to use your knees and lower all the way down to the earth. Point the toes and then take a simple cobra. So you're just lifting your chest up away from the mat. And then as you exhale, returning to downward facing dog. Right leg is going to rise to the sky. Any amount, you can open the hips or not. And then step that foot through. It helps to lift up the left heel. Back knee can lower or not, reaching the arms up to the sky. And then forward bend to the top of your mat. Feet come together. Halfway lift. And fold. Bend the knees, rising all the way up. And then all the way down again as you exhale. Just follow that breath. Lengthen halfway. And left foot back. High or low lunge, reaching the arms up. Downward facing dog. Connect the palms, step back. Come into plank. Lower all the way down, or you could do a little push-up, bending the elbows in and then up. And then keep your knees lifted and pull through to upward facing dog. And then return to downward dog from there. Left leg will rise on your inhale. And then step through. Come into your lunge, high or low. Beautiful. And then forward bend as you exhale. Halfway lift. And fold. Bend the knees, rising all the way up. Bring the hands together in front of the heart. And then right away, begin again, reaching the arms up. And fold. Halfway lift. Right foot back. Use your inhale to rise all the way up. And then downward facing dog. Feel free to take cat and cow here instead of the classical vinyasa if that works better for you today, or just stay in your downward dog. Okay, when you return to downward dog, on an inhale, the right leg is going to go up to the sky. And exhale through. Inhale. Beautiful, forward bend. Inhale, halfway lift. And fold. Bend the knees, rising all the way up. And then all the way down again. Inhale, lengthen. And left foot back. Inhale. Downward dog through your vinyasa. So don't care which sequence you do. I care that your shoulders don't get hurt. Okay, so do what works for you. And follow your breath best as you can. When you get back to downward dog, your left leg will rise. And through. Beautiful. Nice, everybody. And then forward bend. Lengthen. And fold. Bend the knees, rising all the way up. And then bring the hands to touch in front of your heart. And just take a moment to feel, to receive. Okay, inhale. And then as you exhale, bend your knees and reach your arms forward and up. So coming into a little chair pose. I like to lift my toes up so that I'm bringing my weight really into my heels. And press the heels a bit down and apart. The arms are forward and up, but just keep the shoulders nice and soft. So your arms could really be more forward if that helps your shoulders, okay? Inhale, and as you exhale, just see if you can sink into it a little. Then as you inhale, press back up again, and you might feel your glutes engaging even more. Exhale, lowering into it a bit. Inhale, rising, neutral back here. We're not tucked, but we're not arched either. Press into those heels. Let's take one more, sinking down. Then interlace your fingers, flip the palms up and stand up. Nice. Keep the knees just a little bit soft, nice and long through the belly and side stretch to the right. On an inhale, come through center. And as you exhale, side bend to the left. I'm going to stay for a full cycle of breath. Inhale, come on back up through center. Gently release your hands and interlace them behind your back, or grab your strap if you're more comfortable. So you could always hook the thumbs as well. Hug the elbows, lift the heart, and press the fist down. So start in standing just right here, opening the chest to the sky. And you can stay standing if this works best for you. It's going to change the stretch a bit if you bend the knees and forward bend, letting the fist come up and back behind you. If you are folded forward, make sure you're not kind of dumping your arms over your head. Think of continuing to pull them up to the sky so that the collarbones stay really wide. Inhale, and then gently release the hands down to the earth. Take a halfway lift and then sit your bum down. We're going to lay all the way down onto our backs. Do a little bit of work into the core. So take a moment just laying on your back to feel your spine and your belly. Okay, you can inhale, letting your belly expand. And then as you exhale, gather your pelvic floor in and up, and your belly button back towards your spine and up towards your heart. You can stay right here, or you can lift the shoulder blades up off the mat by interlacing your fingers around behind the back of your head. So I want to start for everybody with the marching. So you're just going to inhale and lift your right foot. And as you exhale, you're going to put it down. So this is pretty subtle. And then left side. So we're just marching side to side. But the thing I want you to think about is keeping the belly really integrated and the pelvis really nice and steady. Okay, I'm going to give you some options to go a little bit further if you're comfortable, but this is a nice place to start. It's pretty safe for most of us. Okay, so you can keep doing that, or lift both of your legs up and squeeze them together. On your inhale, the knees are going to go past your hips. And as you exhale, you're going to draw them in and maybe add a little curl at the bottom of that exhale. Keep squeezing the knees together, toes flared. And as you exhale, gather in. Okay, here as well, keep working that belly button in and up. It's not popping forward. And you want to think of going pretty slow. So we're not using momentum here. We're really using those deeper abdominal muscles, transverse abdominis. And imagine you were holding something between your knees that you really didn't want to drop. Take about 3 more. If you're marching, just make sure that you're even on the 2 sides, ending on the left, probably. Nice, you guys. And then rest. You can lay on your back, let the soles of the feet come together, knees open wide, or knees together, feet wide. Take a couple breaths into the belly, just letting everything settle. Nice. Beautiful. Okay, let's make our way back to our hands and our knees. So you can gather your knees in, rock and roll forward and back along your spine if you're comfortable with that, or you can just roll over to one side and find your hands and your knees. Take a couple rounds of cat and cow just to kind of feel that in the belly. And then come to a nice neutral spine. You might want to bring your knees a little closer together. Extend your right leg back behind you, tuck the toes, and come into gate pose. So the left foot is going to come off your mat, right heel spins down. I like to step my left hand a little more forward, so it's not right under my shoulder, it's a little ahead. And then reach that right arm up or over your ear. Take it as a side stretch. Around the half moons, I always love side bending. Tailbone drawing down, nice long side waist, maybe turning your heart a bit to the sky. Stay here, or let's take that little side, what's it called? Quad stretch. So you can float your right foot up off the mat and your right arm can go up as well. And then you can bend the leg, see if you can hold the foot and add a little bit of that chest and quadricep stretch. Okay, inhale, and then you're going to step all the way forward towards the top of your mat for warrior two. So I want you to be gentle with that back knee. So you can bring your right foot all the way up, but then just very gently bring that back foot to the back of the mat, lift up the knee, spin the heel down, and then we're coming up and open. Nice work, you guys. Yeah, a bit of a funny transition there. Make sure your feet are in the alignment that you want them. Draw the tailbone down a little bit, knee over the ankle, and take a couple of breaths just to expand, widen. And then come into side angle. So you're going to bring your elbow to your thigh and take the left bicep alongside your ear. Tailbone lengthening. So it's a lot like gate pose in the sort of top half of the body, if you can think of it that way. Turning the heart open, getting nice and long through that left foot. So I'm working with this as a side bend today, but if you want it a little bit more of a hip opener, you could come a little deeper into your side angle. So for example, bringing your right hand down on the inside of your leg, maybe onto a block. You could add a half bind here with the left arm around your lower back. Some of you are pretty open in the shoulders and you have long arms. You can bind if that's comfortable for you. Just keep hugging that right bum under you and turning your heart open towards the sky. Okay, inhale, and then we're going to release the hands and the back knee down. So we're in a lunge. Left hand is going to go a little bit wide. Right arm opens to the sky. So it's a twisted open lunge. Okay, hug the shoulders onto the back, get really nice and long through the spine, through the sides of the neck. You can lift up the back knee again if you want to. You can stay here, or some of you might want to come into a quadricep stretch again. So you could bring your back knee down and kind of roll onto the front of the thigh, bend the back leg and hold on to it. Haven't done this one in a while, my goodness. I find the more I bring my hips forward, the easier this is on my back knee. Okay, inhale, and then gently release the foot if you've got it, and we're going to come into pyramid pose. So your hands are going to come either side of your front foot. You can put them up on blocks here. Pick up the back knee, back foot steps in a couple of times, and both legs are straightish. Feel free to widen your stance a bit if you need to. Okay, get nice and long through your spine as you inhale. Exhale, gently fold into it, and you can stay there in stillness. Or if you want to flow, you can inhale to lift your heart and exhale to lower. But wherever you are, think of drawing that right hip back behind you, spine nice and long, even if you're folded down, breathing. Okay, let's transition through standing L, but we don't need to hold it. Just gonna bend into the front leg, look forward. Inhale, lift your back leg up. And as you exhale, just go ahead and put it down so that you're in standing forward bend, both feet beside each other. Nice work. Take a halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Bend your knees, rising all the way up to standing. And then bring your hands together in front of your heart and just take a moment to receive, to feel. Lovely. Then reach your arms up to the sky again. Exhale, fold forward over your legs. Halfway lift, and then step your right foot back behind you and come into a low lunge. We're going to hold this a little bit longer. So if you want to pad your knee by doubling your mat or using a block, feel free to do that. It's nice and simple. Reach your arms up to the sky. Tailbone is drawing down, getting nice and long. Bend your right elbow so you can hold on to it with your left hand. And gently side stretch to the left. Think tailbone long. So you're really expanding that right side waist, sorry. Okay, come up through center and we're going to find a twist. So option one, you can put your elbow across your thigh and come into this kind of compressed version of the twist. Option two, your right hand can come down anywhere on the inside of the leg and reach your left arm up. That's going to be a little bit more open. Okay, in either place, hug the shoulders onto the back and nice and long through the chest. And if you want to lift up your back knee, you can. Stay strong through the legs. If you've got your elbow across your thigh, think of pressing your thigh back into your elbow. Beautiful. Inhale, and then gently release the hands, back knee down as well if it's lifted. And we're going to take half split. So you can untuck those back toes if you want, straighten the front leg, and you can have your hands on your blocks again. Lengthening your spine as you inhale. Exhale, melt, and you can keep flowing that way, or you can be still. Flexing the foot, drawing the left hip back. Nice, long, smooth breaths. Okay, then look forward, plant your palms and step your way back to downward facing dog. And this would be a nice moment to take a little reset. That could be a child's pose, it could be vinyasa, it could be cat and cow. Let's take a few breaths to kind of see what you need. Beautiful. Meet me in hands and knees, please. And extend your left leg back behind you for gate pose. So the toes are going to come down, heel spins, carefully, gently. Take your right foot off to the outside of your mat. Right hand can step forward a little bit. Left arm goes up or over the ear. Pressing that outer left sole of the foot into the earth. Slight tuck of the tailbone. And this one is, my wrist is just talking to me, so I've come up onto my fingertips. You can do that here. You're just bringing your weight a little bit back into your legs rather than into your hand. And you can stay here, or if you want to add that little quadricep stretch, we can float the hand up to the sky, foot up as well, and then reach back, hold the foot. And you might notice I'm still up on my fingertips. I'm not putting a ton of weight on them. I'm just leaning my weight a little more towards the back of my mat so that I can do that without hurting my wrist. Pressing the foot and hand into each other. Beautiful. And then we're going to transition all the way into warrior two. Okay, so you're going to look down, release your leg, carefully step it forward. And I just want you to be really gentle with that knee. Don't twist the kneecap, right? So you might need to kind of heel toe it a couple of times or bounce the foot back. Heel lands, rising up and open. Adjust your alignment as needed. So front heel in line with the back arch of the foot. Knee over the ankle. Arms open, shoulders soft. Finding that nice, powerful breath again. And then side angle, bring your elbow to your thigh. Take the right bicep alongside the ear, pressing into the outer arch of the right foot, and a little turn of the heart towards the sky. You can definitely stay here, or if you want to work a little bit more with the hip opening aspect of this pose, you can bring the left hand down, and it's hip strengthening too, by the way. It's pretty challenging to be down here. The hand on the inside of the leg or on a block, you could wrap the right arm around for a half bind, maybe a full bind, and think of kind of tucking the bum under you, turning the heart open towards the sky. Inhale, and then gently unwind your hands. We're going to come all the way into an open lunge twist. So the back knee is going to come down, right hand off the mat to the right. Fingertips or palm is fine. Left arm opens to the sky. So you're twisted towards your bent front knee. And then you can lift up the back knee if you want to. And some of you might want to explore that little quadricep stretch. So for me, the more I can bring my hips forward, the easier it is for me on my knee to do this. Because when I bend my leg, I'm actually on my femur bone. I'm not on my kneecap. So I'm letting my hips come down a fair amount. But I like to kind of flare up my left toes so I'm not collapsing. And then gathering the heel in, shoulder onto the back. One more breath. Then you can gently release the foot if you've got it, or bring the knee down. We're going to straighten the front leg. No, we're going to come and pick up the back knee coming into pyramid. So the back foot draws in a little bit, hips are square. Lengthening the heart, drawing that left hip back. You can stay here, you can fold and stay there, or if you want to flow, rising and falling with the breath, feel free to do that. Coming back to your breath. Maybe you could close your eyes again. Okay, and then you're gonna look forward, and we're just gonna come through the transition of standing L. So you're gonna bend into the front leg, and then inhale, the leg goes up to the sky, and right away on the exhale, it comes down. So we're not holding that one. Take a halfway lift. Maybe you wanna exhale at your mouth. And let's take a moment in forward fold. Just seeing what you need here. Maybe a little sway, a little bend into one knee and then the other. Okay, halfway lift again, and then step your left foot back. Last little standing sequence here. Rising up into a low lunge. Feel free to pad your knee if you need to or want to. Bend the left elbow, holding onto it with the right hand. And you can add that little bit of a side stretch. And I find it really helpful, rather than kind of leaning back, to actually gather in and up. And then I get that really juicy side stretch feeling. Okay, inhale up through center, and then come into your twist. So your elbow can come across your thigh, or you can have your hand nice and wide and take a little more of an open version of a twist. You can lift up your back knee if you want to. Shoulders onto the back, neck nice and long, legs active. It's a little harder to breathe and to twist, so just do your best. Okay, inhale, and then gently release your hands. Back knee lowers. If it's not, straighten your front leg and take your half split pose. Again, inhaling to lengthen. Exhale, melt. And you can keep doing that, or maybe you want to stay in relative stillness, but do breathe. Really nice. And then when you're ready, bend your knees, step back into your downward facing dog. And then again, you can do a little reset here. So you might want to rest in downward dog or child's pose. You might want to take vinyasa. This would probably be our last vinyasa. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to give you some options from here. I want to offer an inversion to those of you that have energy, like inversions, want that. So it'll be a little more active inversion, and you can start moving your mat to the wall if you know that you like to do this with the wall. Those of you that are not so into this inversion, don't worry, I'll give you steps if you want to try it, but not go all the way up. But if you're kind of ready to start shifting towards that yin side a little bit more, you can just take your child's pose. And if you want to have your bolster in between your knees and really kind of rest into it, feel free to take your child's pose here. Okay, otherwise I'll give the option for forearm stand, Pincha Mayurasana. So I definitely need a wall for this one, so maybe I'll just turn you guys so that you can see the wall. And you would bring the short edge of your mat up to a wall. If you don't have a wall and you want to kind of practice it a little bit, there's ways to do that too. And yeah, legs up the wall is an awesome alternative too if you don't want to do more intense pose. Okay, so we're just going to bring our elbows right down to the mat, and it might be a good idea if you have a brick to hold it in between the L's of your hands like this. It gives you something to press into and helps you to maintain your alignment. So feel free to try that. You can do it with hands together, it's just a little less stable. So ideally you've got the block here. Forearms come down, and I'm kind of snuggling my elbows, in a little because I know they're going to roll out. Then you can tuck your toes and come into a downward dog on your elbows. This is a great place to stay. You can walk your feet in a little, maybe looking down between your elbows. Try to have the shoulders really on your back, so you're not scrunching them up towards your ears. You can stay here, you can lift a leg, that's plenty. If you're comfortable, you can hop a couple times. and see what happens. Oh, I got the window. So think long spine, but it is a slight back bend here, very slight. The toes would be slightly behind your elbows. Maybe you're working with one foot against the wall and bringing the other into alignment and just starting to feel that practice of proprioception. For kind of knowing where you are in space when you're upside down. So feel free to try that for a couple of breaths. You can kick with one leg and then the other leg. And then you can come and rest in child's pose. And if you're coming out of the the Pinch Mayurasana inversion, I like to have my hands usually beside my hips so that my shoulders can kind of flop down. I'll show that in just a second. And let's just take a few moments to kind of receive that, let the energy start to settle and soften. And we'll take a couple more breaths here and feel free to stay if you want to stay longer. When you're ready to come up out of the pose, you can just do that gently. If you've been in child's pose for a while, you might want to come to hands and knees and just stretch one leg back at a time. If you were doing the forearm stand with me, you might want to sit on your heels, take your fingers around behind your back and just open the chest gently. And then I'm going to invite you to make your way to sitting on a little piece of support, like a foam block. And you can extend your legs out in front of you and give them a little shake. So as I mentioned, the half moon time is my favorite time for side bends. And I love side bends. I always feel like we don't do enough side bends. So we're going to do a yin side bend. So you might want to bolster or some blocks around, just kind of whatever props you have will be handy for you here. I'm going to take our legs out nice and wide, and I'll mirror you for this part. So you can bend your left knee in so that your right leg is long out to the right. And I'm just kind of shuffling to the edge of my mat so that my hips tilt forward a little bit. If this knee is quite lifted, you could put something in between it. And I've just got my bolster kind of long by my leg. I'm losing my words here. I'm going to sit up nice and tall. I'm just going to slide my hand along my leg and start to think about a side bend. If you're getting any pain in your knee, you might want to bend the knee a little bit and you can put a prop underneath there, including the bolster, okay? You might also just need to shorten the stance a little bit. So just see how that works for you. And as we're doing this in a yin way, we don't have to go very far. So you might even just kind of be like this, letting your head relax, okay? You might be bringing your elbow onto the bolster or a block and resting your head on that. You could explore reaching the left arm up to the sky. You could hold the head. You could have the hand on the hip. And you're just kind of allowing that to settle and soften as you spend some time in the pose. So it's not a really big stretch. It's a very gentle one. And I've still got my foot a little bit flexed because I want to keep some integrity there. But if I feel comfortable and safe, I could actually relax my foot. I just ideally want it to still be pointing up to the sky. Okay. So find the place that works for you. And just breathe along that left side waist, wherever you're feeling it, outer hip, maybe your shoulders involved, maybe your neck. Work with relative stillness, soft breaths. I find this one especially does tend to soften a little bit as we spend time here. So if it feels like easy and you're kind of being invited to go deeper, you can. But that's not something you want to force. The sensation should be gentle. Let's take another breath or two here. And we're just going to really slowly start to think about coming out when you feel ready. Okay, so if your left arm is up, you can bring it down to help give you some weight. You can look down and then maybe use your right hand to kind of help prop you back up. And just pause for a moment in the center. It might feel really kind of weird. It should be here. Okay. You can take a little counter twist, just reaching the right arm over the ear. And some of you might like to take a little ballet pose, pressing into the left hand, lifting your hips up. That's a little like gate pose that we did earlier. Slightly different alignment, but very similar. And then you can come down. Let's release the legs. You might want to give them a little wobble in the middle and then come to the second side. So second side might feel totally different from the first. For me with side bends, it definitely does. I have a little scoliosis, so side bends, maybe that's why I like them so much. Because they help even me out. So taking that left leg out, just gathering your props, whatever you've got, so that you have something to kind of lean onto, finding that angle where you're not getting any, it shouldn't really be any sensation in the knee. Bend your knee if you need to, or shorten the stance a bit. Sit them nice and tall, and then you're just kind of sliding slowly. So the left hand can come along the leg, the elbow can come onto the prop if you've got one there. Maybe it needs to be up a little bit higher. Maybe you're resting your head on your hand. That could come with time. There's no rush. Okay. And again, as I said, I find the fascia, I don't know if that's just me, but something about the side bend, like it softens a little bit faster than some other places. So I will find I get invited a little deeper with time. Experimenting with your right hand, maybe it's just resting at your side. Maybe you want to try it over your ear. That's going to add weight. Maybe holding your head. There's different options, and you could change that too. In the classical yin practice, we're very still, but and there are reasons why we want to explore stillness, but I don't like sort of restriction or being forced. I don't think the body responds to that very well. So if you do find that you need to move, just trust that. But if it's needing to move from a place of kind of fidgeting because it's hard to tolerate the present moment, that's a little bit of a different story, right? So just kind of noticing what's going on for you, what it's like to work with stillness. And just breathe with what's happening. And you might find you can kind of get a little more breath into the bottom of your right lung here, so don't be afraid to breathe really deeply. We've just got a couple more breaths here. More if you need more. Sometimes we need different things on the two sides. Generally, we try to work symmetrically, but sometimes there's other things going on. And when you're ready, you can gently bring that right hand down, looking down, supporting yourself back up to center slowly. You might want to move your shoulders a little. You can take a little counter side stretch to the right, and you could also place the right hand down and lift up your bum, much like gate pose. And then sit your bum down again. Okay, release your legs. Let's give them a little shake. And then step your feet a little wider than your hips and just take a couple of windshield wipers with your knees looking the opposite direction with your head. Just getting a little bit of a twist through to even that out. And then we're going to take a symmetrical pose to end, and I'm going to give you a couple of options. But if you need something else before we rest in Shavasana, feel free. Okay, if you're comfortable with it, we'll take both legs out nice and wide, and we'll just fold straight forward here. Some people are much more comfortable with the soles of their feet together. It's very similar shape, so if you're more comfortable that way, that's fine. You can still be sitting up on the edge of the block and just taking a nice soft forward bend. Maybe using your blocks to support. You won't be here too long. We unfortunately don't have the time to luxuriate, but we can give a little bit of room just to lengthen out the spine symmetrically. If you're comfortable with it, you can let your head relax forward and maybe rock it slightly from side to side. And we're not trying to force anything here. The sensation should remain gentle. Okay, and then when you're ready, we'll just very gently, softly roll up. You can bring the legs softly together. And I'm just going to take my fingertips around behind my back, squeeze the shoulder blades, lift the chest, just kind of resetting. And then we'll come towards Shavasana. So we didn't focus a ton on back bends today. So if you want to return to the pose we started with for your Shavasana, if you want to lay back on the bolster, especially if you sit a lot, it just feels really nice to have that chest open. Please feel free to do that. If you'd rather take a more classic Shavasana, like laying flat on the back, or maybe you even want something like legs up the wall, that's fine. Just get yourself nice and comfortable, ideally symmetrical and resting so that your body can just come back into balance after all of the various styles of work that we did today. So if you have the time, it's nice to stay in Shavasana for a long time, like 20 minutes, right? So if you have the time and you want to, please feel free to just continue your rest. If you're feeling like this practice is completing for you, just go ahead and deepen your breath. And bring in some of those small intuitive movements again. Maybe taking a stretch. Eventually drawing in your knees and rolling off to one side. And if you are coming off that bolster, just take a moment to really curl up. And then rise up to a comfortable seat and place your hands together at your heart or over top or wherever works best for you right now. Gently bow your mind to your hands, your heart, your breath, your body, whatever it took for you to get here to your practice. Honoring and acknowledging the long and complex lineage of teachers that is with us in our yoga. Honoring and acknowledging the sacredness of the land. Thank you for sharing your practice with me today.